Evening, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gavra Racing. I'm Jack TM53, your commentator, as usual, for the Tier 1 Championship, and we're live from Le Castellet in France for round one of what promises to be a fantastic season ahead. We've got a lot to get through already, and I'll talk about that shortly. There are drivers out on circuit at the moment as well. Good evening to everybody who is watching live from wherever you are in the big wide world, of course. And it's good to have you watching us live on Twitch, and of course those that are watching on YouTube for the post-race. I hope you're having a very good time wherever you might be. A couple of lap times coming in already, so I'm going to go through those shortly. And we'll have a little bit of a further chat about the drivers, of course, out on circuit. We need to obviously discuss the main factors of who is racing around this wonderful 15 corner circuit. It used to be 17 back in the old days, but now it's 15, and a number of drivers already coming through to set their lap times. A couple of drivers out on the medium compound tyre, obviously getting themselves lined up and ready for just getting their eye in, I would say, for the rest of this session. Now, of course, obviously we're here for round one, which is, for those that don't know, there's been some changes to Gavra's format this season, and there are 14 rounds for this season. France has classified, of course, as a 50% race, so it's classed as rounds 1 and 2. Miami, which is next week, that's a sprint race, 50%. Portugal, Canada, Mexico, you've got Saudi Arabia, which is a sprint and 50% race, and then Imola will see the rest of the season concluded. But 50% race will be quite challenging, I believe, for the drivers around this circuit. There are a couple of pinch points around the track that would certainly cause a bit of bother if you were to go off there, and I'm currently watching Joss Trekfoss 69420 going around in the Ferrari at the moment. I know Gav is going to be directing, doing a good job as he always does, but he doesn't need to follow Joss at the moment. I'm going to run through the drivers whilst we're here, just give you, if I have any info on them, I'll give you an update on them. So at the front, at the top of the table already, we have Shortbread 224, last season's champion, of course. He's back in the Mercedes, and he is already on form with just under 12 minutes to go. Umpa 225, he was a debutant last week, and as I was praising Shortbread, GRL Viper decides to go pole. I'll talk about Viper in a moment. But Umpa was very impressive last week in the evaluation race. I was certainly pleased by the progress that he'd shown. He slotted in quite nicely to good finishing positions in 4th and 3rd around Portimao. Then you've got Arpita, a returning driver, a very solid driver as Arpita, a race winner before as well. Pushadino, another very solid driver, one that's certainly looking for some stronger results this season. He had flashes in the pan last season of pasted the Red Bull, but didn't quite get the results in the end. You've got Joss, who's currently 6th at the moment. He was a very competent driver in Tier 2 last season, was Joss. Looking forward to seeing how he gets on Ferrari. You've got Terra Teddy, who's brand new, actually. He didn't take part in the evaluation race last week, I don't believe. I commentated on both of them. I don't remember his name coming up. I'd certainly remember a name like Terra Teddy. But he is in 7th currently, so debutant for tonight. Shari as well, he's also in 8th place. He got a top 10 last weeks in the evaluation race. Obviously, the evaluation race that I'm referring to, for those that are new to the channel, this is what we do at Gavra Racing, just to make sure that everyone is effectively in the correct lobbies that they're supposed to be in. And Tier 1, of course, is the fastest, and Shari showed good pace. Ben Roberts is another, well, I would say defending champion of Tier 2 from last season, but he's made the step up into Tier 1, and I'm very curious to see how he gets on. John Wick, solid point scorer last season was John. He's in Tier 1. J&B Surreal back in the AlphaTauri. CT Pat, a debutant last week. He had a couple of issues on the way round, but he got round in the end. That's what matters. Get some practice in, get yourself up to speed. Ex-Natty G, a very popular favourite in the Williams, a very popular favourite as well at Gavra Racing. Former champion, of course. Fett's out in the Aston Martin. Another driver with very strong pace. Miles M, who could have won the championship for Tier 1 last season. He was right in the thick of it all the way to the final event, but just missed out. But he's back once again. JDM, again, a very quick driver. A couple of good results. He even had a good showing last week. I say a good showing. I mean, Jay will probably say that he can improve on that, and I'm sure he can. But definitely a lot of pace there. Billy Misu just rounding the final corner, actually. So Gavra, if you're directing, pick up Billy Misu. We'll go on board with him in 3 seconds, as in now. So we've got the DRS open as he approaches turn 1 for his first lap. Billy Misu flicks the car through turn 2. Nice use of all of the curb as he came through there. Completely flat all the way down towards turn 3. A difficult complex of corners to get right, and that Aston Martin gets right out of the way for him. That's good driving. Third gear uses all of the inside curb that he possibly can, and through this very long right-hander through turn 6, and then onto the Mistral straight out of turn 7. Completely flat. Cars will be north of 200 miles an hour down this straight. Braking just at the 100-meter marker down to 3rd or 4th gear for the chicane, and Misu using all of the gears in 4th and 5th there. Nice from him. He's keeping up all of the speeds. A good lap so far. Then through the most famous corner in French motorsport, through Sainz, completely flat in a Formula 1 car. Problems. Then we come through turn 11, and again Billy Misu using all of the road and curb that he possibly can. Just missed the apex a little bit. He'd be a bit annoyed at that. And a difficult left-hander for turn 12. He's done well though, and his lap time is still very, very strong. There's a car in front of him just about to go on a lap, but he might get a handy tow, Billy, as he goes around the left-hander. Braking down into 2nd gear for the final corner, turn 15 on the throttle. Nice upshift early for Billy Misu, and this is going to be a decent lap from him. Where's it going to put him? It's more than decent. It's got him on the front row. It's a great effort from the AlphaTauri driver. The number 87 is on the front row provisionally at the moment. We've got a yellow flag. I think that's one of the McLarens. Ben Roberts. I think's had a bit of a spin going through turn 6. And the last driver who I didn't actually cover in our sort of quick run through the drivers, GRL Viper, the man on pole position, the young guy. He is exceptionally quick. One of the favourites for this season, along with Shortbread. Obviously the defending champion, but Viper is very, very quick. He demonstrated that with ease last week at Portimao. Both race victories going to Viper around the Portuguese circuit, but now around this Paul Ricard circuit here in Le Castellet. Excuse me, I've got a lump in my throat on that one. Not a Murray Walker moment. I could never be that good, but Viper is very good, and he is going towards the Mistral chicane. It's a little bit deeper than what he would ideally want through there. He's coming towards the 2nd sector timing beam, and he's 2 tenths up. So Viper, the man in form, is proving it once again. Absolutely fantastic to watch Viper when he's on form. It's just
in the final couple of corners of the circuit here is Viper through turn 14 on the brakes into third gear. Fires the Red Bull out of the final corner. DRS wide open. He was 2/10 up earlier. Will this be an improvement from Viper? Yes, it is. It's a 1:30.5 from GRL Viper. Great effort from the Red Bull. Who else is on a lap? Our Peter in third place has decided to take an interesting line through turn 1. Joss up to... This is a good showing from Joss. Umpa, I don't think is on a lap, but he's halfway around the circuit, so it won't be a problem for him. Shortbread on his way back round. JDM obviously on an out lap. Nasty G goes into the pits. I'm just flicking through the drivers at the moment, trying to find who is near the end of a lap, or is actually on a lap, would be a better comment, realistically. Ben Roberts coming out of the final corner. He's definitely on a lap. What's that lap time going to be? I don't think it's going to be much of an improvement. In fact, it isn't. It's a couple of attempts slower. There's a bit of a traffic jam going on in the middle sector down by the Mistral Straight. It seems like a few drivers are just sort of taking a relaxed view, shall we say, on the corner cutting elements of getting back to the pit lane. Don't know whether Gavra Racing will ever decide to update that ruling. I'd love to see that. It'd be quite interesting to see the drivers panic going around the circuit as quickly as they can to get back to the pit box, but looks like everyone is filing into the pits with about 4 minutes to go, apart from JDM. He's the one who's decided to go onto a flying lap, as has Shari, who's just in front of him in the Ferrari for that matter. JDM has got a car maybe 2-3 seconds in front, well, not even that, 2 seconds in front of him, so he'll get a very faint toe down the Mistral Straight, but the thing is, Shari is about a second slower than him at the moment, and Jay will be conscious of that when he catches up to him. His first sector time, he matches what he's done. Oh, big wiggle coming through turn 6 from JDM, and he might decide to back out of that one. We'll see though whether he actually does. Shari definitely didn't have a wiggle. Let's have a look at his second sector time as he comes around the chicane. Nice and early on the throttle from Shari, that was then. A lot of traction on that setup that he's running at the moment. He's 5/10 up practically on this lap, so it's a good effort from him. Everyone else in the pits at the moment. Billy Meesy's just getting out onto his out lap, so he's timed it quite nicely. A couple of other drivers now starting to come out of the pit lane, but Shari will be the first driver to set a lap time in these final 3 minutes. It's looked like a very tidy lap. Should get him into the 1:31s. Nice enough round the final corner. What's this lap time going to be from the Ferrari? It's a 1:31.4. That's a superb effort to get himself into the top 10. JDM abandoned that lap, so that's his qualifying run and done. Pat is also on a lap. He's on a 1:44. That's not representative of Pat. It's a 1:33.4. He's within a second of last season's Tier 2 champion, Ben Roberts. So that's some encouragement for Pat. Might not have the outright pace just yet, of course, but that is a step in the right direction for the Alpine. Billy Misu, though, on the front row at the moment. He's on his final run of the session. He's purple in Sector 1, so this is a very good opening gambit from the AlphaTauri. A couple of other drivers now on laps as well, Pushadino being another one, but we'll carry on with Billy Misu. How's he getting on through this Mistral chicane? It's done okay, actually, not too bad. Nice and early again on the power from the AlphaTauri driver, and he's 2.5 tenths up, so keeping the advantage that he had from earlier. But he needs to find another 2 tenths in this final sector. A very technical couple of corners. He's a lot tighter on the apex this time. That'll gain him a little bit of ground on GRL Viper. Swings for around turn 14. Third gear, he's got a car in front of him, but that will actually help him on the main straight. He'll get a lovely toe, but the car actually gets out of the way. Unfortunately for Billy, so he's not going to get that toe. But what's the lap time as he comes towards the line? He's pole on a 1:30.5, half a tenth in it between himself and Viper. So good effort. The sister team to Red Bull, which is what Alpha, well, technically sister team, under the watchful eye of Franz Tost. Billy Misu has got pole position. Peter onto a qualifying lap. GRL Viper goes on for a qualifying lap. So I'm now going to try and pick up the drivers who look to be ending their lap times. Seems like everybody is pushing flat out. Speaking of pushing flat out, Dino's coming round the final corner. This is it. The checkered flag is flying. Is this going to be an improvement for the Red Bull? It is. It puts him into the top 10. It's a 1:31.3. Looking at the next car, John Wick will be the next driver to finish off the qualifying lap that he's on. Miles is just behind him as well. John Wick looks like he might improve here. He doesn't. He actually fell away in the last couple of corners. Miles goes up to fourth. That's much more like it from Miles. Into the second row of the grid. Viper fastest in the second sector. In the Red Bull. Peter just in front of him on circuit. There's a couple of more drivers now coming towards the line. Looks like Fetz is going to get his lap on the board. I think it's going to put him somewhere in the top 10. It doesn't. That's how close it is. It's a 1:31.4. I thought it was going to get him in the top 10 there. Ben Roberts, what can he do? It's a 1:31.6. It's an improvement. Doesn't get him quite where he would have wanted. Umper comes across the line. Does he improve? No, he does not. Viper does, though, with a 1:30.1. And Shortbread there in third place across the line as well. Josh moves up to third. Good effort from Josh in the Ferrari. That's a wonderful effort from him. Ex-Natty G up into fourth place too. So a couple of favourites arriving late on in the session to get themselves into the 1:30s. No one else on a lap now, just waiting for J&B Surreal to get into the pits. That was a great qualifying session, really competitive. And there'll be quite a few happy drivers following on from that session, but the happiest of them all will be the Red Bull of GRL Viper. Almost 4/10 clear of the chasing pack. And he will be psyching himself up now for the race ahead. He'll be chuffed with that. He's on pole by 3.5 tenths from Billy Misu in second. You've got Jos and X90 G lining up on the second row of the grid. Shortbread and R. Peter are on the third row, fifth and sixth respectively. And it's another Mercedes of Miles and Umper in the Williams in 8th place. So 2 Williamses and 2 Mercedes in the top 10. Then it's the Alfa Romeo JDM 11 in 9th and Pushadino rounding out the 10th in another Red Bull. Shari is 11th, Fett 12th, John Wick 13th. 14th is Terra Teddy on the medium compound tyres. Suggests there's a lot more time in it for the Dutch driver. Ben Roberts in 15th, J&B Surreal 16th, just at the back of the grid. CT Pat in 17th position in the Alpine, not too far away from the rest of the field. The top 10 drivers separated by just 1.2 seconds, which is very competitive. Just a couple of little comments I'm just seeing in the chat area at the moment on Twitch for those that can't see. Ben Roberts saying that he was on a poor setup, but then again he's poor at this track is what he's saying. So, well, hopefully for Ben's sake he can just keep his nose clean. It's also a bit of a chat between Shortbread and Ben Roberts about the size of their TV. Both of the, well, it's more that Ben Roberts is complaining about the 42-inch TV, which is which is very interesting, Ben, I have to say. If you can't race on it, get closer. And there we go. There's the typical comment. Well, the race session is about to start in the next few seconds. Who is going to win this 50% race here around Le Castellet? Paul Ricard. We shall find out. The lights are coming on now. The Red Bull on the right-hand side, the AlphaTauri on the left. And the race is live from France. Looks like a good start from GRL Viper, and he does launch himself into the lead with a little margin. X90G challenging Billy Misa. Oh, a little bit of dodging there from X90G, but he gets through cleanly. Shortbread's up to fourth. I say up to fourth, he's down to fourth, but he's trying to challenge X90G. You've got an Aston Martin there of Alpita in fifth place. Everyone keeping it nice and tidy at the moment. Pushadino trying to go around the outside of the Mercedes. There has been a yellow flag in sector one. That's the Aston Martin of Fetz who's gone round. Commentator's curse, unfortunately, there for him. Big fight in the midfield for sixth place. Oh, Peter almost getting up the inside of Umpa, but that didn't quite happen. There's a pit stop strategy for everybody to have a look at. Feel free to have a look through that in your own time. One stop or two stop. Umpa on the inside of X-Natty G. He's got some speed in the straight line, but he can't get past his teammate. He has to slot in fourth place. Oh, Pete gets overtaken by Pushadino and Miles. He didn't have the best exit there. Using all of the slipstream available in front of them. They're side by side through signs. They're just about keeping it nice and clean. JDM trying to close the margin down to the Aston Martin in front of him. He can't quite get through. A little bit of contact between Pushadino and Miles. Still Peter looking to consolidate that seventh place, and he's through on Miles, but they bang wheels. Miles has got his nose in front, but it's going to be really hard for turn 14. They both need to keep it clean, and they're round. That was always going to end up in an accident. And unfortunately it has. There's a broken front wing out there. Pat's gone round. There's absolute carnage at turn 14. Loads of drivers diving into the pit lane. Oh, Miles is in the pits. John Wick's caught up in that as well. They won't be pleased. Alpita carries on without any damage. Well, that first lap, it was all kicking off in the midfield, and it just seemed that it was going to happen, unfortunately. Miles won't be happy at all that he's gone into the pits, and I suspect that'll go to the stewards. But nevertheless, we are one lap down. And we have to, the rest of the drivers who are up front won't give a blind bit of notice to what's just gone on there. But it's the way from Billy Misu and Shortbread. He's got pressure, has Shortbread, from the two Williams drivers behind. Now, it's important to note in terms of strategy for this 50% race that the top three are all running the harder compound tyre around this circuit. So it's the C4 tyre, the hard compound that they run here. And X90G, Umpa and Pushadino are all running the medium compound tyres. So first to third on the hards, fourth to sixth on the mediums, with JDM on the hard tyre. Those seven quite close together, all within a second of one another. And that's really important for strategy. So later on, Viper, Misu and Shortbread are all going to be on faster tyres, allegedly, when they come into the pit stops. Because, of course, in Formula 1, you have to have a pit stop change onto the mandatory set of tyres, which, of course, is the medium and the hard. Joss goes into the pits. I suspect he might have damage with that, but Viper has just about got the... Oh, Billy Misu's lost it. He went on the curb. Second place is round. The AlphaTauri drops it on the curb at turn 2. It's so easy to do. He'll rejoin in front of his teammate. Well, Billy Misu, I just said as well, just dropped out of DRS. He was pushing to stay with the Red Bull, and that's not happened. But the fight moves to second place because X90G will have DRS available on this lap. Of course, the drag reduction system available on the third lap. ERS as well, used for X90Gs on the inside. Brakes at the 100-metre marker. Shortbread wise enough not to fight that one at the moment, as he runs over the curve as Umpa picks up a time penalty. And Shortbread will be wise to just try and hang on to the back of the Williams if he can. two Williams drivers certainly looking at some speed. Look at Umper trying to go for a move. Oh, he's got it all wrong. He got it all wrong going into turn 11. He's fortunate. I don't think he's got any damage from that. He drops down to 8th place as Umper 225. That could have ended a lot worse for the pair of them. Shortbread won't have any damage from that. Just watching Umper. No, he hasn't got any damage. I don't think Umper realised the trajectory that he was on in relation to where Shortbread was. He sort of turned into him. It wasn't malice or anything like that. But that is not good news for him. So after the first 3 laps that we've completed, a lot of action already and a couple of penalties for drivers thus far, but there are a number of people who've benefited from the incidents around them. X90G Shortbread up 2 places, Pushadino is up 6 places from 10th place, but the two to talk about are Terra Teddy and Ben Roberts up 8 places each as Terra Teddy ran wide then through turn 6 and picks up a penalty. It's going to have Ben Roberts though right behind him. Oh, there's a yellow flag, one of the Aston Martins. Oh, that's late from Terra Teddy to try and block that line off. He gave the McLaren a bit of a chop. I don't think Ben will be too happy about that, but he's got ERS. He's got a good run out of the corner. Look how much Terra Teddy doesn't want to give up this position. But he's got no ERS left as Terra Teddy, and Ben Roberts has all of it in the world that he needs. And they swap places. Ooh, little nudge in the back from the Alpine into the McLaren. Gotta be careful with that, could damage his front wing. But for the time being, they remain in 6th and 7th place. And Ben will be pleased with his progress. He'll want to try and stay there for as long as he can. Although Terra Teddy definitely doesn't want to give this up. Gets the ERS very early. I'm not going to tell you the exact details of how much the ERS the drivers have got, because anyone who's listening to the race as they're going along, they'll get extra data. But Terra Teddy has now been joined in the pursuit of Ben Roberts along with Umper 225. Umper, of course, was fighting up at the front earlier. That little incident, though, has caused him some grief as CT Pat picks up a time penalty. Oh, Umper was looking at a move. Should have tried to back out of that one, because that will compromise him. X90G, by the way, is pulling Viper in as Josh sets the fastest lap of the race and overtakes Miles for good measure. Gets into 14th place. But yes, as I was saying, X90G catching Viper on those medium compound tyres. He's not within DRS yet. I think Viper will be aware of that. He's very aware of what he needs to do to maintain his lead. But Natty is bringing Shortbread with him. The gap between Shortbread and Natty G is only less than a second at the moment, 8 tenths as we rounded that corner. If Shortbread can hang on to X90G and X90 then gets within DRS of Viper, that'll be some fireworks later on in the race. Pushadino in 4th, he's got JDM just behind him 5th. This is a very competent drive from Jay so far. Only 5 laps down, of course. Ben in 6th. He can't quite shake off Terra Teddy, though. Terra Teddy showing that he's got some form on this hard compound tyre, and he's looking for a move around the outside. So he's got DRS open, coming down towards turn 1, and he goes through. Ben Roberts obviously on the medium tyres, and with that setup he did say he was struggling a little bit. It must be that his straight line speed he's suffering with. And I think Ben will take some points if you were to offer him it now, to be honest. But this is still a good fight from him. Same with Umper trying to recover. And I feel that Umper is perhaps quicker than the pair of these two, as Shari and JMB Surreal go side by side through turn 5. That is not a typical place you normally fight another driver, but those two decided to get on with it. And Shari goes past on the medium tyre, so he's into the points. And Umper goes past Ben Roberts as I was watching that. So there's one car down for the Williams. He's just got to get past Terra Teddy. Number of drivers already, though, after 6 lap with time penalties. Currently have 7 drivers with time penalties already, so that is Unfortunate for them. Now, of course, whilst we've been talking, Shortbread has really closed the gap on ex-Natty G for second place. The gap less than half a second. But Natty evidently had the traction out of the final corner not to have to worry about the Mercedes behind him. Hello to everyone as well who's watching in the Twitch chat at the moment. Do comments, give us your thoughts on the race so far. Who you think might potentially finish in the top three. Umper still quite close to the back of Terra Teddy, but he just can't seem to get close to the Alpine on this back straight. Maybe he's just saving time and his tyres a little bit for Umper to try and attack Terra Teddy, there we go. 3 bites of the cherry, Jack, thanks for that. But he is trying to close that gap down. He's also probably conscious of trying to save some ERS as he goes along. JDM, it seems that the hard tyres are starting to just come into their own a little bit now. I think the parity between the tyres is certainly there. JDM's got to be careful with that line through turn 11, otherwise he's going to pick up a time penalty. He's in a good position compared to the cars around him. He doesn't want to then join them with a penalty of his own. I'm just looking at the closest gaps around the circuit at the moment. Just so you're aware, there's a few drivers around at the moment. Shortbread obviously close to Natty G. Excuse me, apologies for that. JDM close to the back of Pushadino, Umper, Ben Roberts and Terra Teddy, of course, all together in a little trio there. As Fetz goes into the pits. Now, Fetz hasn't stopped yet. He was involved in that incident at turn, I think it was turn 3 and turn 4 where he went off. So he will be going onto the hard compound tyre, I presume, unless he does a 2-stop strategy, as Ben picks up another penalty. And he is going onto the hard tyres, and it turns out that Fetz did have damage. So he's replacing his front wing. He'll lose a few seconds, but he should have clear air out in front of him. I don't think Pat's going to be close enough to overtake him. Ooh, we got a yellow flag in sector 2. There's been a bit of argy-bargy. And JDM, has JDM gone round? Because he was in 5th place, he's not anymore, he's in 8th position currently. Has he clipped the curb at the Mistral chicane? Whatever has happened to the Alfa Romeo, it's dropped him down to 8th place. There was a yellow flag, so I suspect he was facing the wrong way. That gives Pushadino some breathing room. Although I suspect there wouldn't have been contact unless he was side by side with Pusher, but I didn't see him close enough on the timing screens. But who knows, I'm sure we'll get an answer to that after the race. A couple of drivers thinking Viper, Shortbread and Pushadino for the top 3. Certainly one to watch. Natty just cannot get any closer to GRL Viper, who is still leading this race, of course, after 8 laps completed. And Shortbread's got a lot of speed now. He's under the rear wing of that Williams. I suspect there's going to be a move coming down this Mistral straight. It's a huge straight. Natty goes late. There's not really much he can do. And the compound runner of Shortbread 224 is up into 2nd place. He overtakes X90G on those medium tyres, and I suspect the performance has just started to fall away from the mediums now. That parity I talked about a lap or 2 ago just switched the other way now. Pushadino still in 4th place, running a solid race for Red Bull. Terra Teddy is having a very strong race in 5th. 3rd driver in the race with, in terms of a hard tyre compound. He's actually managed to put a second to Umper, so Umper's tyres I don't think are at the point that he would have wanted. He's got Ben Roberts with him. JDM's all over the back of the McLaren. If JDM wants to get a top 6 finish, he's got to try and get on with this. The only issue that he will have trying to get Ben Roberts is that Ben subsequently also has DRS, so it's going to take a colossal effort from the Alfa Romeo to get past. Oh, and JDM picks up a time penalty on the exit of turn 2. That adds to the list of drivers who've got a penalty. That increases it to 8. Billy Musu in 9th place. The drivers who, obviously, we've already had drivers who've pitted, of course, earlier in this race when they had the incident that went on at turn 14, which looked like a very unfortunate situation for those that got caught up in it. They're running, of course, further down the field. The head of that field at the moment is Joss. He's 8 seconds behind R. Peter in 12th place. It's going to be difficult for those drivers who've pitted, apart from Fetz, who is the first driver to have done a typical one stop, I would say. It's going to be very tough for those drivers who had to pit early on to get into the points, I feel. Apparently there's been a bit of a reset to track, which isn't allowed in IRL, so don't know who that driver is, but they are going to get a huge penalty after the race. Umper goes into the pit lane, so the first of the conventional pit stops has started. So where will Umper feed back out into in terms of position? Of course, getting serviced by the Grove-based team. He's... well, I think that might have been a visual glitch, actually, because it didn't seem to load for me. But Umper's going to come out. Oh, it's going to be very tight with Joss, but he is out ahead for the time being. But that is a good place for Umper to come out. If he can get his tyres up to temperature and get away from Joss as quickly as he can, he'll have a lot of clean air. And the drivers on medium tyres now are going to have to react to that. As JDM goes past Ben Roberts for 6th place. Just watching the gap between Umper and Joss at the moment. Just watching those two to see whether or not the Ferrari can close the gap on the Williams in front. But it doesn't look like he will get close enough for a move. Oh, and there's a few more penalties coming through already. It's up to 9 drivers now we've got with time penalties. But we're still not at halfway point of this race just yet, not at half distance. And that is Fetz, who's gone round at turn 6. That's Natty G, though, into the pits, and Pushadino. So both of the drivers on the medium compound tyres and Ben Roberts are now reacting to the pit stop that happened just a lap prior, I should say, with Umper. Where is Umper in relation to them? Well, he's a couple of corners away. He's obviously a few seconds back from the leading fight. Oh, Fetz has just picked up a 10-second time penalty. I think that's one of the game's odd decisions that it makes as our Peter goes past JMB Surreal at turn 1. Umper's coming down the straight. He's got past Ben Roberts quite comfortably as well. So it was certainly worth it then to go for the undercut. And Umper is in 11th position now. He's 2.5 seconds behind Pushadino, and that was the... oh, Fetz has retired, but he's retired in the pit, so there shouldn't be any safety car for that. And Fetz has left. He's had a very difficult session. This is a shame for Fetz. He's a strong driver. He's much more capable than what he's displayed tonight. But obviously that incident at turn 3 has kind of ruined his race, really. The only driver still out on the medium tyres who's yet to pit is Shari. 17 in 6th place. He's done 11 laps so far. There's a yellow flag running around the track, but that's because the Aston Martin, well, the retired Aston Martin of Fetz has come back out onto circuit. It's a bit of a problem for those that are coming up to it. Don't think it'll be too much of an issue because Fett's car has now pulled over to the side of the track. And Shari now makes his pit stop to go onto the hard compound tyre. Billy Misu picks up a time penalty, so that's another driver to add to the list as Shari drops, I would imagine, outside of the top 10. He's got a couple of extra laps, fresher on the tyre than the cars around him. Might not be much, but one lap might make all the difference at the end of this race. Shari's actually going to come out quite far away. He's actually going to come out with John Wick in 14th place there. So the gap on circuit, the closest fight at the moment, is Joss with Umper. Joss trying to hang on to the back of that Williams just so he can pull himself further along, use the DRS and hang on and just get a little bit more lap time than what he would have done without it. And it is working for him. But he will need to make another pit stop, and I imagine Joss will go onto the medium tyres again. They can certainly do 12 laps as Shari just displayed. If he can make those tyres last to lap 15, lap 16, get onto them another set, he might just be in with a shout at an outside chance of getting into the points. Oh, JDM has left the session. He was running in 4th. Can he get back in? But he is going to lose a heap of time because his AI will have taken over. JDM, who was running quite handily despite his spin earlier on, he's probably going to lose a place to Billy Misu. Pushadino all over the back of JMB Surreal. This should be a straightforward overtake, and sure enough it is. The Red Bulls flies past JMB Surreal as if he was standing still. And here comes Joss on the inside of Umper for a spot in the top 10. But Umper saying no thank you, you're not going to have that position easily. Does the cutback at turn 2 and outbrakes the Ferrari into turn 3. He's got a little bit more grip on those 3-lap old hard tyres, the Umper. And he squeezed his way back through, but Joss hanging it out with the drivers who are certainly displaying themselves to be quick this evening. Jay has still not returned to the session, unfortunately. He's been overtaken by Billy Misu now. Now Wumper has got himself onto the back of JMB Surreal and Pushadino. Those two are just obviously switched positions the lap prior to this one. Shari goes past John Wick for 14th place. I'm just watching on the track map. Just looking, let's have a look at the gap to the leader. Currently X90G is very close to Viper in terms of the pit stop strategy. It's just a question of whether Natty will come out ahead of Viper. And the other problem is, even if he does, Viper's going to have those medium tyres to use, which I know that how quick Viper is. We've all seen how quick he's been this evening. Going to be very challenging for any driver to keep him behind. As Umper gets past JMB Surreal for 9th place. So the Williams starting to make a move forward. JDM's having disconnection problems, hopefully he's back in. Joss gets up to 10. The drivers just trying to find their rhythm at the moment, those that have already pitted. John Wick picks up a time penalty. Most of the grid now has got a time penalty. That's, you know, we've got 16 cars still running. 11 of those have a penalty, incredibly. The only 5 that don't is Viper goes into the pit, so he's taking fate into his own hands. Doesn't want to suffer an undercut, and Shortbread follows him in, which was to be expected. Terra Teddy comes in, Billy Misu comes in. JDM's Ghost stays out as Ben Roberts picks up another time penalty. So JDM's Ghost is going to lead this race Now, if there was a safety car roundabout now, that would be very handy for the Alfa Romeo. Viper will come out in second. Shortbread is going to come out behind X-Natty G. So this has been a really good stint from the Williams. He's got himself out about a second clear of the Mercedes, but as I said before, the medium tyres will just take a couple of corners to kick in and the speed differential will very quickly swing in the Mercedes' favour. Our Peter's still out there, he's not on those harder compound tyres. I'm not certain how long the hard tyres can last, but our Peter is doing everything he can to make that car go for as long as possible. Now, whether our Peter will try and hold on and go for the soft tyres remains to be seen. He might come on this lap. Oh, there's a yellow flag. That's CT Pat who's gone round. As Miles moves into 11th place down the straight. Look at Shortbread, he's all over the back. Pushadino's all over the back of our Peter, but Shortbread looks as if he's going to be shaping up for a move on the next lap. Corner by corner, he's closing the gap down to that Williams. It's a very brave move from Terra Teddy to get past Umper. JDM's Ghost. Ah, it looks like it's actually JDM. It looks like he might have come back in, hopefully. But Shortbread is right with the Mercedes. Past the halfway mark, 10 laps to go after this one. JDM's Ghost goes into the pit lane and gets serviced by the team. Of course, Sauber based in Hinwil in Switzerland. Look at Shortbread though. Hopefully the director could see the gap closing down corner by corner, and Shortbread is going to have his ERS ready, and sure enough he does. There isn't going to be much X-Natty G can do really with this one. And sure enough, that is as easy as you like. Demonstration there of how powerful the DRS and ARS usage combined is. Shortbread moves into second place. Pushadino is really trying to get past our Peter. He's trying to go around the outside of our Peter at the chicane. That's a great overtake from the Red Bull, and he's into fourth. Terra Teddy trying to get in on that action as well. Don't rule out Terra Teddy. He's on the medium tyre, of course. He has got some speed. Our Peter trying to go around the outside. This is the chance for Terra Teddy to look for the move into fifth place, and he's going to go through. He had all the grip available to him, and he's into fifth position. Those hard tyres might have just come away from our Peter, I think, at this point. He's trying everything he can, though. And he stays out for another lap as Viper inevitably sets the fastest lap on his new medium tyres. Terra Teddy within DRS of Pushadino. Closing the gap, you can see it here. He jinks one way, jinks another, but he thinks better of it. Will he try something unorthodox outside of turn 2? He's right in the slipstream of that Red Bull. Again, he decides otherwise. Miles picks up a time penalty. That brings the list of drivers down to 4 of those that haven't got a penalty yet. But Terra Teddy is right there. He's going to have DRS available to him. He's already underneath the rear wing of that Red Bull in front of him. He swings to the left-hand side. Down this long straight here in France, and he takes 4th place. Can he go after X-Natty G? It's not out of the realms of impossibility, as Umper, fighting with our Peter, gets past him, and Ben Roberts is looking to go round the pair of them. Oh, it's almost 3 wide. That's not going to work, surely. No, they make contact and our Peter goes round. Oh, Peter, that was never going to work. Someone had to back out of it, and sadly none of them did. Umper and Ben Roberts come together further around turn 12. Ben Roberts goes through, but that was never going to work. Free into Sainz. It's not a corner really to go side by side in, even though a lot of people do try. I feel sorry for our Peter. And yeah, he's going into the pits now. He won't be happy at all with what's just gone on. He will have lost a lot of time as well because Sainz is a flat out corner, so not great news for him. JRL Vipers picked up a time penalty. We're now only down to 3 drivers who haven't got one yet. I don't really have a fascination usually with penalties, ladies and gentlemen, but this one is quite special. Well, Belimisu has left the session. I wonder, has he had a disconnection similar to that of JDM? Oh, JDM's facing the wrong way out of turn 4. It's a bit of an odd place to go round. I wonder if there was... Oh, he's gone round again. This session has gone from bad to worse for Jay. Hopefully he can get those tyres cooled down. Take it easy down the Mistral straight, he should be fine now. Oh, JDM, it was all going okay for him. He'd recovered after the spin, then he disconnected, then he got back in and he spun. Oh dear. Closest fight. There's a couple of cars really all stuck as Joss finally goes to the pit. So this has been a great strategy from Joss. He's going to go to the soft tyres with 7 laps to go. And he might just score a point here because his teammate is 11th on the hard compound. In fact, he might even get out in front of his teammate. So Joss's long strategy is going to work out for him. Shari does overtake his teammate, but for how long? That's an Alfa Romeo round again. I suspect that's Jay. It is. Alfa Romeo having a poor race this evening, sadly for them. Elsewhere, the status quo remains. Umper still within about half a second of Roberts, but it's just not quite close enough. Miles, however, in the DRS zone of Billy Misu in front of him. 18-lap-old tyres for Miles, of course, being involved in that earlier accident at turn 14. Just trying to hang on. Now, we are getting to the point where we'll soon have the last, let's say, quarter of this race. And Miles will be thinking, can he hang on to the soft tyres for long enough? Or will he try and do an impossible job and make the hard tyres last to the end of the race? I mean, it's not out of the realms of impossibility, but it's very, very difficult to do. A number of drivers have already bolted on a set of soft tyres. It's a question of whether Joss can get back into the top 10 and past his teammates. Umper still on the back of Ben Roberts. He just can't get close enough to the McLaren. Whatever the poor setup that Ben Roberts is running evidently has a little bit more downforce than what he would have wanted. It's helping him come out of Sector 2 onto the Mistral straight. It's working for him. But having said that, Umper... Oh, it's an Alfa Romeo who's gone round again. It's Jock actually this time he's gone round. Umper looks like he's a little bit closer this time. DRS open. And I think this time he's going to get Ben Roberts down the straight. He is sailing on past. There's a huge differential in speed. 10-mile-an-hour difference between the two of them as they went past. Umper back into 6th place. This is going to be a good point score for both Red Bull and for Williams. Had it not been for Miles' earlier incident, you'd suspect that we might have a bit of a freeway championship going on here for the manufacturers, because Mercedes have got 2 very competitive drivers, Red Bull have got 2 competitive drivers, and Williams evidently do as well. So this could be a very exciting season to come. Not just, of course, in the Drivers' Championship, but also in the Constructors. Viper ticks off another lap. He's got 6 to do, including the one that he is on currently. It's Ben Roberts' turn now to sit in the DRS train. Miles carries on for another lap. Now, the thing with Miles is that he has 14 seconds to Shari behind him, who's all running the hard compound tyres. I think Miles might be trying to take this to the end. And if he does, we have to give him credit where it's due. If he can do that, it'd be a really, really spectacular recovery drive. And something's happened to JDM's car, actually. I've got a visual glitch, or it's either a visual glitch or something's odd going on at turn 6, but it says he's in the pit lane, and the reality is he's stuck on in the middle of turn 5 for whatever reason. Apologies to John Wick then from the lap before, because it wasn't actually him that had spun round. Ben's all over the back of Umper for 6th place. This is the closest fight on circuit. Umper runs a little bit wide. I'd open the door for Ben Roberts to just have a little look. No move there. These two are really closing the gap on Pushadino as well. Gap now nearly a second. Wouldn't that be a great way to finish the race off with a 3-car fight for the last spot in the top 5? Billy Misu's catching the pair of them as well, so we could have a 4-car fight here for a place in the top 5. Oh, Miles has picked up and that is exactly what I said could happen. Miles has got a puncture. He's got it into the pit lane. Luckily, it's happened to him right at the end of the lap. He's onto the soft tyres and he's away. But he's going to lose that position to Shari and Josh, so both Ferraris are going to score a point. I think Miles is going to be too far back to affect the points in front of him. Miles dropping down, he's in 12th place. Oh, 13th place, JMB Surreal gets past him. Umper had DRS then on Pushadino. So the race director hopefully is watching the fight for 5th position, because Pushadino is going to be under threat from not 1 car, not 2 car, but 3 cars. Billy Misu's trying to close that gap. In fact, Ben Roberts is trying to close the gap even more. He's going for the inside line. At turn 11, they go round the corner. No contact, nice and clean. Umper stays ahead. Joss is all over the back of his teammate, and Shari, very, very well done in terms of team orders, just swaps that position with Joss. Joss goes into 9th. Look at that, DRS available for Umper again. He's just on the edge of that 1 second activation point. Ben Roberts is really harrying and harassing Williams, not letting him get away. These two have had a great fight. Admittedly, the penalty situation does make this a little bit more awkward in terms of timings. But what I will say is that out of all the cars that have penalties at the moment, Ben Roberts has 12 seconds worth of penalties, so he's going to lose a place to Billy Misu, but that would be that, I think. But Billy Misu only has 3 seconds, and at the moment, he's within that gap, so Billy Misu's on for 5th place at the moment. That is a bit of a conundrum. Look at this though, look at the gap, look how much it's closing. Billy Misu's just struggling though. The problem that Billy Misu now has, and he will have to hope that they fight to resolve this, because Billy Misu doesn't have DRS, unlike the other 2 cars in front of him. So they're pulling away down the straights, and Billy Misu can only use the tyre advantage around the corners. X90G is obviously behind Shortbread, but he's still within a second. I just spotted that. That gap was a little bit hard. What if Shortbread's had a little bit of a slow lap there, because Natty's right with him. 3 laps to go. Umper is now within half a second of Pushadino. In fact, he's a lot less than that. Oh, Umper picks up a time penalty. Tara Teddy picks up a time penalty. Tara Teddy's got to be careful actually, because Billy Misu could get him for penalties there as well. DRS available for Umper. He's giving it absolutely everything down this Mistral straight. But look at the straight line speed of the Williams. He just sails on through. And Umper 225 has got himself back into that 5th position that he had earlier on. It took him a long time to get back there. Ben Roberts is right in the wheel tracks of this, of course. He's only half a second back. Billy Misu's still thereabouts. Yeah, Billy Misu could be on for 4th place here thanks to Terra Teddy's penalty, so he's got to be very careful now as the Alpine driver in 4th. Now, this is the question, as we round the final corner to go on to the penultimate lap, Pushadino, Ben Roberts and Billy Misu just squeezed himself into DRS there. He's really pushing because he knows that 4th place could be on here, but he's got these 3 cars in front of him. Umper trying to hang on to 5th place. The thing with Pushadino though is he's got 6 seconds worth of time penalty, so Pushadino, they're all fighting for a position that nobody really will know the result of until they cross the line. That's a good exit from Umper, he needed that. He really got a gap open there, he'll be chuffed with that one, but the straight line speed of the Red Bull isn't too shabby at all. How often have we said that this season in Formula 1? Oh, Ben Roberts, how late do you want to brake for that corner? Oh, he had a little nibble of the rear right tyre of the Red Bull, but he just about got away with it. Billy Misu hanging on to the back of this group. He had DRS before, and Ben Roberts goes past Pushadino. How close is it going to get on this final lap we're going to have in a moment? That's what Billy Misu wants more than anything. He just wants to keep closing that gap down. GRL Viper, though, is coming across the line now, and he's on his last lap. Well, who's going to win this fight for 5th place, or even maybe 4th place at this point? Because they're all in a huge fight. It's absolutely fantastic to watch the nose to tail. Billy Misu's done everything he can to try and close that gap. He's done well. He's going to finish 8th on track, but he's going to definitely get promoted from there. Don't forget, this is the other thing. Umper and Ben Roberts have the same amount of time penalties, so whoever overtakes who here, or whoever finishes in front of the other one here, that's the position they're in front. Oh, Pushadino spinned it! He's hit the wall! He had a huge snap of oversteer coming out of Mistral corner, and Pushadino is out of the race on the final lap. As Ben Roberts picks up another time penalty after all of that. And that's going to give, well, our Peter the point, because Miles has got 14 second worth of penalties. But I'm going to cut back to GRR Viper. I know there's a huge fight for 5th place going on, but this man has been absolutely incredible this evening. Pole win, fastest lap. It's GRL Viper who opens his account for the season and wins here at France. Shortbread is going to finish 2nd, only just from ex-Nutty G. But a great effort from those two to finish 2nd and 3rd. Now, Terra Teddy is going to cross the line in 4th place. Now, start your stopwatches, because who is going to get 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th? I've no idea, but here we go towards the line. Ben Roberts trying to get past Umper. Now everything ticks over. Billy Misu ends up 5th, so Terra Teddy just held on. Umper 6th, Ben Roberts 7th. Jos is going to end up in 8th place. Pulled out enough for a gap on his teammate on those soft tyres. He'll finish in 8th place. A Ferrari double point score as Shari gets 9th. He'll be chuffed with that one. Miles crossed the line 10th, but it won't be him in 10th position at the checkered flag. It will be our Peter who takes the 10th position spot. Miles M drops to 11th. JMB Surreal, the only one of 3 drivers not to get a penalty this evening, actually crashed, I think, before he got to the finish line. Well, Isn't that something? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a fantastic race we just had there at Gavra Racing. It was action-packed throughout, lots of overtaking, lots of drama, but it's GRL Viper, the man at the top, fastest lap, pole position, and of course the race win, who takes it for Red Bull. Shortbread is second with X-Natty G in third place. Fourth place is Terra Teddy with Billy Misu in fifth. Umper is sixth. Ben Roberts is seventh. Jos Trekvos is eighth with Shari ninth and R. Peter in 10th place. Now, I've been asked to potentially do an interview with the drivers. This is something that we haven't done before at Gavra in terms of the F1 League as far as I'm aware, but I'd be very happy to do that. Hopefully the drivers, if they can join, of course, that would be great. J&B Surreal is 11th. Miles M ends up 12th despite crossing the line in 10th place. So J&B Surreal actually managed to crash after the finish line, fortunately for him. Pushadino lost it on the final lap. He'll be kicking himself with John Wick, CT Pat, and JDM with Fetz in 17th place, who didn't finish, of course. But what a great race. What a fabulous race that was. Really enjoyable to watch and to see how the drivers got on then. Lots of action all the way through. And we shall wait to see whether or not we do get anyone. Everyone. Hello, everyone. Hopefully they can hear me. There we go, you can. Fantastic. So Gavra's managed to get that all sorted for everyone. And there's a number of drivers who hopefully will decide to and have a chat with us. I know there's a couple of people who are looking to join in potentially at the moment. I'm just looking to see who we've got in the chat with us. Viper, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Alright, great.
Oh, Peter, are you there? He's got his mic muted at the moment. But just waiting to see if anybody else wants to jump in. Seem to be having a bit of echoing going on. But let's start with you, Viper. whilst everyone else is sorting themselves out. First of all, congratulations.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you.
It looked from our perspective that it was a very easy race, but obviously I know that you'll say you had a few challenges. But tell us it from your
Yeah.
perspective.
To be honest, at the start it was quite difficult, of course, the hard tires and also trying to get Billy Misu out of DRS. But initially, the pace was good. The car felt really nice, especially in the mediums. I really started to get the pace running and starting to get the consistency up. When I got a 3-second penalty, I was really annoyed. But then I started pushing really hard, and then I started getting the gap up eventually to like 9 seconds on the last lap, which just showed I did have pace, but unfortunately I'm quite annoyed as well at the same time because of Dino, because he's drove such a well race, and on the last lap unfortunately he spun it because, you know, he's my teammate, we're good friends, and unfortunately, yeah, it's just happened, and I'm quite annoyed. And also on the last lap, I had a bit of a hit on my wheel because I was annoyed because, you know, the constructors is quite crucial, especially for us, because he wants to win it, I want to win it, and also the drivers' championship. But yeah, I've told him that it's fine. We're leading the constructors if my calculations are correct. But overall, in a summary, good race, good pace, car felt great, and overall, I'm quite happy with the result, but as well annoyed at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And as you say, with your teammate going off, he went off at the Mistral corner at turn 6. It was just a big snap of oversteer, which does happen through there. Unfortunately, lost it. But like you say, you're leading the championship already, and as a team, you will be, I believe, as well. What are your thoughts on Miami next week? Because it's a very different set of challenges around Miami street circuit, and the sprint race to factor in along with the 50% race. What are you thinking for that?
I think Miami's going to be a very difficult one, especially tie wear can be quite of a challenge, but I think I'm going to prepare myself. I know I'm strong around that track, and I think my pace is quite strong, but of course some other drivers might have stronger pace. I'm definitely not going to count myself as a race winner for next round, because, you know, anything can happen. Anything can happen. It can spin or anything, but for Miami, I'm feeling quite confident already. It's going to be a difficult one, I think, because last time when I raced in the weekend league in changeable conditions on the wet cell, I made a massive mistake with the setup, and I lost a lot of time, if you don't remember. But overall, I'm feeling confident, and I think Miami's going to be quite an interesting one for everybody. And also, hopefully, there's going to be some good racing around there, because, of course, there's 2 long straights for drives to overtake. But overall, I think it's going to be quite an interesting one.
Brilliant. Well, once again, Viper, congratulations. Well done on the race win. Pole position and fastest lap for tonight.
Yep. Great, thank you.
No problem at all. So we'll move on, obviously, because we've got Umper in the chat with us as well. Well, we did have for a moment. Oh, he's there still.
No. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Hello. Alright, so basically, I think it went pretty well. I mean, what kind of as I kind of expected, it was few disturbances in the race. Spun a couple times. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, I had a really good start. I think that was one thing I could look positively on. I made up like 4 positions. However, I did go wide in the first turn, so I'd have to go to the runoff. However, yeah, but the rest of the race went pretty poorly. I had a good race here with Ben. It was actually really enjoyable. I can't lie. However, yeah, I think both of our races didn't go really well as we had planned due to time penalties, and I know he didn't have the setup as he really wanted to. Also, I don't really like. I think France one of my worst tracks. Probably it's just so. Just driving it, I just feel so. I just don't enjoy, especially his third sector. I feel I was losing like at least 3/10, like in I don't know which turn it is, but. And like the sweeping right-hander, I don't know which one that was, but I was losing
turn 12,
so
yeah.
turn 12. I was losing at least like 2/10 on that one turn alone, and I mean, I hope to do better in the next race, and yeah, I mean, I think also for constructors, I think we have a pretty solid team, especially with Natty's. He's rapid and fucking, but it was. I don't think I could have kept on up to him even if I hadn't spun, because I think he was rapid during the race. And
I do have a question. What happened with you on the exit of turn 11 early on in the race? Because you were fighting for position. It seemed like you just
it was with short break, wasn't it?
Yeah, did you just
Yeah, that was my
misjudge the
fault. No,
gap?
that was my bad. That was my bad. I was literally, I think I was going so fast, and I feel like I wanted to use my pace for a good advantage, like in the straight line. I don't know. It was kind of stupid of me. I thought I was side by side at the time, but now looking back at it, I don't think it was. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it was just a racing incident. Honestly, it was probably my bad. Honestly, but it's
Well, you still showed some really good speed, Umper. I think you should be proud of the first race debut, if you want to call it that, following on from the evaluation races last week. And one final word from you in terms of next week at Miami. What are your thoughts on the track, and is it a good one for you or another bad one?
No, I think it's way better than France, that's for sure. I don't know. I mean, I've raced at Miami a few times, and it's odd. I don't know. There's something about the track that I kind of like, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, I haven't raced it too much, so I can't talk how much I don't know too much about my pace there. But I mean, yeah, just have to hope for the best and see what it's like and see how well I do. Anyway.
Well, fingers crossed for you, Umper. But anyway, well done for getting to the end after quite a frenetic race. And I'm gonna go over to your sparring partner for this evening, Ben Roberts. Can you hear us, Ben?
I can, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you very much. You had arguably a very underrated race this evening. I know you picked up a few time penalties despite your setup, but how did it go from your perspective?
Yeah, I was really frustrated at the end to get that final one on the last lap, because me and Umpa were fighting, side by side the whole race, really. I mean, he was the kind of guy I was fighting because I assumed people were on the mediums would kind of catch up to me at the end when I was on the hards, but managed to kind of keep the pace going with Umpa, and he was fighting with a couple cars, and I could tell that we were kind of catching Pusher towards the end, but just didn't quite have it. At the end, I think I made a little mistake going into, as you come off like the long straight in the first sector. And then, obviously I knew from there that he wouldn't get a penalty. So, it was just a bit disappointing. But hopefully next weekend, I'm on this massive TV. So I'm waiting to get my monitor back from uni, and then hopefully I'll be a bit quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the setup, obviously, because that's the one thing that I did want to ask you about. So you said that you were on the wrong setup. Were you running higher wings down the straights? Because you did look like you were losing a bit of time.
Yeah, I was running 13, 14. So I think it is a bit of a time trial setup. So I thought it would give me a bit of an edge in qualifying, which, I mean, I wasn't really able to put a lap together. I kept making mistakes and invalidating. I really struggled with France. I think by the time I got to the third sector, the tyres, it just didn't feel like the lap was ever hooking up. I did no practice going into it, so just didn't really have the pace today.
I've got 2 more questions for you, but the last one will be brief. Obviously, it's nice to have at the moment. We've got 2 defending champions. Obviously, yourself from last season in Tier 2.
Yeah.
What do you make of the change in the step up to Tier 1 this time around?
I've been in the weekend League 1 before, but definitely the quality of drivers this time seems to be a lot higher. I mean, everyone in qualifying was very close. Like, I thought my last lap would at least put me kind of towards the top 10. I didn't really make as many mistakes, but it was just that third sector where I couldn't get it hooked up. But the quality of driving is definitely a lot higher this season compared to, weekend League 2. I was fighting with Yost, and I think it was what was his name? Started with an A last season that I was fighting really close with as well towards the end of the season. But definitely a lot more competitive.
Good stuff. I'm glad you're finding the challenge to be giving you a bit of a kick up the backside, unlike
Definitely. I don't think it'd be another championship, unfortunately, this time. But you never know.
You never know. This season has the potential to throw a few surprises in there, especially with you've finished today in the top 10 when you qualified out the top 10. There's a lot of time and space for people to move up. Well, last question though, Miami next week. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, it's a challenging one for me. I haven't really put as much time into it. I normally only kind of do career races unless I'm coming up towards, a championship coming up. I did no practice obviously going into today, so hopefully I'll be able to get some more practice in towards Miami and hopefully be a bit quicker there.
Well, congratulations to getting to the end of the race despite the penalties, and still a decent points haul to start your season off in Tier 1 again. Absolutely. So well done on that one, Ben.
Cheers,
and see you for the next one. I'm going to go for shortbread. Can you hear us?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, absolutely. Last but not least, and that's certainly where you didn't finish today,
Yeah.
reigning champion in second place. How was that race from your perspective? Because you were involved in quite a bit of a fair scrap with X90G, even though it was probably more tense than anything else.
Yeah, he was on me. He was really quick on the hards. I don't know how he stayed with me. Getting really close at the end, but it was alright. Viper, but really quick as usual. Like 6 seconds in front of me after the penalty. I don't really know what I can do after that, but I guess I'll try. X90G was good. Close at the end. He got DRS, but luckily it was at the end. I had 2 warnings as well. I had to be really careful not to get a penalty. That could have screwed me, but yeah, alright in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you Natty and JMB Surreal were the only 3 drivers in the whole grid not to have a penalty at the end, which, you deserve a fair play point award just for doing that, considering. But in terms of, obviously you're the defending champion, and it's too early to ask the question, do you think you're going to win it? So I'm not even going to bother. But who are you looking at in terms of your main rivals for this season? Because obviously you're going to go into the season being the favourite. So who are you thinking might be taking a tilt at your crown currently?
Yeah, I think it is Viper. I think he's the biggest threat at the moment. He's, like I said, they're just looking really quick. It's going to be difficult to beat him. I'll definitely try, but we'll see. X90 was good. There was a few drivers that were missing, so I remember Jolty. He's quick. Yeah. He was missing today, so he might have been in front of me today. But yeah, I think it is Viper's is the favourite for this season, I feel like, so I'll try my best, but I'm not sure.
Can hear you already trying to downplay your chances there, trying to take the pressure off you. I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
But I think, in terms of your race, you kept it clean, it looked like it was a competent drive, and I think to start off your championship defence in second place is really, really well done, so you should congratulate yourself for that.
Yeah, I'm so happy with the PT. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a great start to the season. But my question for you about next week, Miami, what are your thoughts on the circuit, and do you think it's a better circuit for you than Le Castellet, or maybe even worse?
Yeah, I don't think France is amazing for me, so that's not too bad. But Miami, it's alright, obviously quite new to the calendar, so not really sure how I'm there yet, but I think I'm alright. I don't know if I'm better there than in France, but we'll see. I'll practice and hope I can get first.
I'm sure everyone else will be saying the same thing as well, sure. Yeah. But well done tonight. Good result, good start to your championship defence, and hopefully you can keep that up through the rest of the season.
Yeah, cheers. We'll see. Thanks.
No worries, no problem at all. So that is it then for this race in terms of Le Castellet tonight. It's been very exciting to have a chat with the drivers at the end, discuss their thoughts, but obviously GRL Viper, the man in the lead of the championship at this present moment. Only one round so far done and completed. We will of course go to Miami next week for round number 2 for the sprint race and 50% race to come. So those 2 races will be very exciting, just as they were last season when we had mixed weather conditions. I'm certainly looking forward to that. I'll also be commentating on Tier 2 as well next week. So for those that are listening who are Tier 2 drivers, don't worry, I'll be back. And that is that for this evening. If you're watching us, do make sure you give us a follow on Twitch or subscribe. With, of course, on YouTube. If you can, check out the Gavra Racing website and a Discord as well for all of our social media areas. Get in touch if you want to as well. Get involved, maybe not just in our F1 leagues, but also the Gran Turismo 7 leagues as well, and the social races that you can get involved in during the midweek. It's certainly well worth your time. But as always, thank you very much to Gavra for hosting this evening, and I've been Jack TM53, your commentator for Tier 1. And wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week.